Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Lauren and today I'm going to be making a nature journal page about this beautiful rhinoceros beetle. This is a particular one that we get here in South Africa and they always make their way into the home. So these are ones that we found in the house and put them out into the garden. For my nature journal today, I'm going to be using my sketchbook as well as a couple of other materials. I like to use watercolors, so today I'm going to be using these Croxley watercolors. There's some nice bright colors in this palette, as well as these watercolors from Montmartre Art. It's also a beautiful palette with lots of colors, and this one from Faber-Castell. I love how bright the Faber-Castell palette colors are, so that'll be fun to add. I'm also using a bunch of different size brushes, some thick ones as well as thin ones. I'm going to be looking at the photograph from the Photo Draw Club. It is a prompt over on Instagram, so check out more of that if you're interested. And this is the rhinoceros beetle photo I'll be looking at as I'm painting. So I like to always start my nature journals by creating a very detailed painting of what I'm going to be creating the nature journal about. So I'm looking really carefully at all of the details of the rhinoceros beetle, the shapes and different parts of the beetle's body. So I'm really trying to mimic that in my painting as I go. The rhinoceros beetle has some interesting parts on its body, with the main very distinctive part being the horn in the front. So I've got that down, and now I'm just trying to really mark out and look at the shapes as carefully as possible. And I have done a few other drawings of rhinoceros beetles before, so it's fun to kind of like revisit this topic and yeah, just do a different style of drawing. And for this and for nature journaling, I always try to do as realistic a drawing as possible. So I'm also looking at lines on the body as well as colors and just really trying to put that down. I'm now going to start painting in the shapes that I've painted with the paintbrush, and a lot of the rhinoceros beetle, especially the one that we find here in South Africa, is a black color, and then it has a couple of other little colors just like in like furry parts of its body. So I've got those in with the red. Sometimes you get a bit of like a golden yellow on the furry parts, but this one in the picture has more of like a red sort of tone in it. And just trying to mark in the colors as much as possible. With watercolors, I also like to lay down the lighter colors first and then kind of like build up a bit of brighter color as I'm going. So that's what I try to do, add in a bit of shadows. Now I'm working on the background, where I'm just going to add, I really like in my nature journals to highlight the main subject and then also sometimes create some other smaller drawings. So I wanted to mimic sort of greenery and leaves in the background. So I'm doing a combination of light and dark green with the watercolors. These beetles are often found out in nature. So I'm also going to be using my DIY letterbox that I created. There's a video over on my YouTube if you'd like to see how I made this, and I love it for storing my letters from magazines that I cut out. And these are also what I like to use in some of my nature journals to create the headings. So I'm finding all the right letters here and they all kind of have their own boxes, so it's quite easy to find them. The hardest part is probably getting it out of the box, so I have this little pincer thing that I use which helps. So rhinoceros beetle for my heading, and now I can start working on just outlining and like defining some details. I really love using a ink pen on my watercolor drawings, so I'll often do the painting in watercolors first and then I'll go afterwards and outline with the ink pen, and also just add in like any details that I can, just to like sort of define the drawing as much as possible. I also really like in my nature journals to write and include the scientific name of the animal or insect or plant that I'm studying or researching about. I think it just helps for later going back to finding, more information if you'd like. I often use different media in my nature journals. So I'm also including some pencil in this nature journal. I'm an artist that really loves to use lots of different art materials. So as you can see, when I create nature journals, this is sort of the style that I go with. And this is just one type of way. There are so many different ways of creating nature journals. Also sometimes really like to include where the animal or plant or insect is from. So in this case, this is a rhinoceros beetle that I've seen in South Africa. So I'm also including a little painting of the South African flag just to indicate to myself this is where I saw that beetle, for future reference. I also like to include as much extra information I can possibly find about the animal, insect, or flower or bird that I'm studying. So I've done that. I've done some research on the rhinoceros beetle and included little notes about this beetle. And then I like to also use a solid color in my background. And yes, so this is just another close-up look of the photograph, and this is the final nature journal page complete with all the colors and details. And I really enjoyed creating this, and this is definitely a style of nature journaling that I enjoy doing. Creating a watercolor painting, having a mixed media heading, and a lot of other information. So thank you so much for joining today. I hope you found this video helpful if you're nature journaling, and I hope to see you again soon.